Greetings, friends and followers. This is Nurses Talking. I am Dale Barcy. And as always, if you like what you see and hear, subscribe. Leave us a comment and let us know what you think. Here on Nurses Talking, we speak to nurses anywhere in the world and at any stage in their nursing journey, from students to retirees and anywhere in between. And today I'm very, very pleased to welcome Dr. Erica Hooper. Dr. Hooper is a registered nurse with a Bachelor of Science in Nursing. She's a DNP in healthcare systems leadership. She has a master's in advanced community health and international nursing. She's an educator and she's an entrepreneur. She's the founder of Heart Illuminations. So welcome, Dr. Cooper.
Hi, thank you so
Dr.
much for
Cooper, I'm so sorry.
Hooper. Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here with you.
It is my absolute pleasure. So first things I want to know why people are nurses. Why are you a nurse?
Oh, great question. Sometimes you wonder, is it a curse or is it? But anyway, I love nursing, and I was drawn to nursing to care for people, literally. My mother, she, bless her heart, she's now 80, and she instilled in me just a compassion for others. She was always
Mhm.
telling me to give and to help others, and that we should be doing more. And she really led that example for me growing up. So I just kind of followed in suit, and the world aligned for me to go into nursing. I think it's one of the most caring professions out there. And so I came into it to care for others. My mother, she never finished nursing school. She went to nursing school and ended
Mhm.
up leaving early and never finished. And so I think part of my mission was to finish for her. Yes.
Good. So she's gotten to experience nursing through you anyway.
Yes, yes, exactly.
So having someone like that as your example,
Yes.
and going into nursing with a caring, um, you know, with your banner is caring. When you became a nurse, though, was it what you thought it was going to be?
It was so much more. I think it's so much more vast, so much more broad. I'm always amazed. I've worked with students for years. I'm always saying, if you don't like something about nursing, there's a ton of other opportunities and options and things to do. So, as I've advanced in nursing in the profession, I've just been amazed at how many roles and things that nurses can do in the world. It's pretty fascinating. I've done quite a bit already.
I
I've probably
see.
had at least 20 different hats in nursing, worked
Yeah.
abroad, been in universities, been in clinics, in hospitals, just so many settings, and it's been an
Yeah.
absolute
Yeah.
delight. It's never boring, right?
It's never boring. And I'm so glad you said that, because really that is one of the goals of this channel, is to I want nurses to see nurses doing things. Especially when I hear the talk, so much talk of wanting to leave. And I'm like, you don't have to. You don't have to. There's so many places that you can be as a nurse and so many things that you can do. So I want nurses to see nurses doing things. So I'm so happy you said that. So at this point, you are an educator, yes?
Yes, I am. That's one of my roles. Yes. I do teach nursing, and one of the areas I focus on is teaching undergraduate nursing students about how to care for themselves, giving them permission to care for themselves in order to have a sustainable, thriving career in nursing. So that's been a lot of my focus lately.
I am so glad you said that, because every single time I ask nurses about caring for themselves, and what self-care means to them, because
Mhm.
I realize, of course, it means different things to different people. But
Yes.
what does it mean to you, Dr. Hooper? What does it mean to you?
Oh my gosh, over the years, it really has become more and more meaningful to me, and it means everything. I would say now I'm really driven by caring for myself first,
Mhm.
before I'm giving. In the beginning, I was giving, and I got to a point where I got burnt out, actually. I didn't have
Mhm.
anything left to give, and I realized I was not giving and filling my cup. And so now I make sure that that is essential. So for me, caring is essential. It's a necessity to care for
Yeah,
self,
yeah,
as a way to fuel me as a nurse so I can do my best work.
yeah. Exactly, exactly. It is, I tell people there is absolutely no way you cannot possibly care for anyone else. Um, or fully until you learn to care for yourself. And then you find that it's not a chore actually to care for others.
Yes, yes, absolutely. It gives you, right, you feel better. You have more, you feel more energized to care, and your
Mhm.
quality of what you provide is so much greater. You don't feel
Exactly.
completely depleted, right? And so,
Yeah, exactly, exactly, exactly. But you talk about experiencing burnout yourself. And so one of the things I want to ask you, as I looked at your bio, you said that your passion really was to help people lift themselves up and, get themselves out of this state of burnout. Paraphrasing you, of course. But one of the questions I have to ask you, since this is your thing, do you think that we recognize our burnout early enough? Do you think we recognize the symptoms, the signs of burnout?
it's a great question. I think as often as nurses, we're exhausted. And when I talk to my nursing colleagues, I'm tired. And it shows up in different ways and it looks different. There's compassion fatigue. There's other things that can be going on, right? It's hard to sometimes label or identify what we're feeling as
Yes,
actual burnout and that it's actually
yes,
burnout. But I think when you think of the phrase burnout, it really is, you're really burnt. You have nothing left. You're completely depleted. That's what helps me to distinguish when I think of that. You're just completely drained, emotionally, spiritually, physically, just wiped out. You've given it all. Your candle
yeah,
has
yeah,
burnt out. And so
yeah.
think I think when it's put that way, I think nurses can identify it. I think we need to have more conversations, more open conversations, allowing nurses to really express their true
Mhm.
feelings and to be vulnerable and to be given permission in our organizations, creating a nursing culture that
Yeah.
really is about caring for nurses and really checking in with them, making sure that they are a priority in addition to everything else.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm glad you use that word permission because permission is one of the things we do not have or do not give to each other. We treat ourselves and we treat our colleagues like really you just need to keep going, you know. Um, and everything is on your shoulders. You cannot stop, you cannot take a break, you cannot. And we don't allow ourselves to, we don't allow our colleagues to. And so we get to this point where we're all throwing up our hands and going, can't do it anymore.
Yes, it's so
Yeah,
true. And I think it's almost how we're geared up and we're trained as nurses, almost
yeah.
given that mentality, go, 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 do, do,
Hmm.
do, fix, 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 finish
Yeah.
that task. And it's just repetitive motions, and we're kind of, when we get out there, we're going. And we just go and we go and we go. And it's normal. It feels that's how it's supposed to be. And so we really have to do a lot of re-educating, retraining, recalibrating nurses and how we show up.
I absolutely agree because you know how many nurses I speak to who, when we talk about burnout and they talk about crying in the car
Mm.
and then walking into the building and the mantle comes on, the mantle of the nurse comes on and they just go, and then at the end of that, they go back at the end of the day and they cry in the car, you know. That cannot be healthy on any level.
Right. We're masking a lot as nurses, and we do. And
Yeah,
part of that is our role. We're supposed to be professional. People are looking for us to lean on, and there's a lot of
yeah,
reasons why we do that. And it's part of the expectation of nursing, I think part of it. But really, it is damaging us, and it's damaging the
yeah,
quality of care that we're giving. And it's
yeah,
showing up in different ways, right? Um,
yeah,
so that's a
yeah.
really great point. I've been there. I've been the nurse that's cried before and after.
Guilty.
Probably during too. At some point in the bathroom, but
Yeah,
we have hard days. We're human. We are
yeah,
human.
exactly, exactly. We're human. We're human. And that is our attempt at self-preservation too.
Mhm.
because so many times during the day you're expected to switch gears. You switch gears from one patient to another, one staff member to another, one family member to another, one department to you're constantly switching gears and still trying to cope and be productive and to care and to deliver adequate, better than adequate care. It can be
Mhm.
difficult.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I don't think people
Yeah,
realize if they're not in nursing how hard it is. It's a
that's
very
it.
job. Mhm.
That really is that's it. And that's another thing. That's another thing because very often, if you don't have a family member or someone close who is a nurse, when you
Mhm.
come home, there really isn't anybody to talk to. People might be willing to listen, but they can listen, but they don't get it.
Mhm.
But they
Mhm.
don't get it. So, you don't have that cushion.
Right. If they're not in healthcare or they're not nurses, you're right. You're right. It's
They
hard to
don't
have
get it.
real conversations and to get the support. And so often we're
Yeah.
reaching out to our colleagues and other nurses who we know that we can confide in. And that's an important part of preventing burnout and caring for ourselves is being able to express that to people who understand and can help support.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes, exactly. And I had a conversation with a nurse that very recently who expressed that she felt that that was one of the downsides of nursing going to 12-hour shifts because you didn't have the opportunity to really form good bonds because you didn't see people as while even though you were working with somebody perhaps for a 12-hour day, tomorrow you're probably not working with that same person. You're probably not working with them for another week. And so the opportunity to really build a team and a cohesiveness is lost in that.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I think we have a duty in organizations to build that culture that helps
Yeah,
us make those
yeah,
connections and builds community, figures out ways that nurses can come together and talk and connect, right? Collaborate in
yeah.
meaningful ways that are uplifting and supportive. Absolutely. I work for a large healthcare organization, and part of my role is also helping with the next generation and the next generation of the nursing workforce, really to develop them and to let them know that they're cared for in our organization. Our organization actually has a foundation around Dr. Jean Watson and caring science, and we really mobilize around that. And that's what drives our nursing practice. So it's nice to work for an organization that has that already there, and nurses know they're coming in with that expectation of caring for themselves.
That is awesome. That is awesome. That is awesome. And I'm so, I can't resist the opportunity to do a little plug. You mentioned Dr. Jean Watson. Um, and recently there's a book published. I happen to be one of the authors called Letters to a Future Nurse.
Mm.
And there's 22 nurses from different countries writing and contributed to this book. And she did the foreword,
Oh,
which
wow.
was you know, such a huge thrill. Every time I can't say it without smiling, just breathless.
That is really exciting. Are you a Caritas coach yet? Or have you thought about being a Caritas coach?
No, I am not.
Dr. Watson, she has a program around, it's called Caritas Coaching.
Hmm.
It's a educational program that she is, and I'm one of them. So
Hmm.
it's something you could look up on her website,
Absolutely.
Science Institute, and there's lots of information, and it's really about learning more of her theory, understanding that, and really incorporating that into your life and your.
Hmm. 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 And I see that you have, well, let me go back a little bit. As an educator, what kind of advice do you give to nurses? What do you say to someone who says, I want to be a nurse, but I don't know?
I say dig deep. Make sure it's not just about the money, that it's really coming from the heart, right? Because
Hmm.
people need us. People are in difficult times when they come to us often, and systems are struggling. So whether you're working in management, leadership, teaching, at the bedside, we have so many roles, but in all of them, there's a vulnerability there within the
Yeah.
system, within the people there, and they're in need of such care, such compassion that there's a lot asked of us. I always say you're going to wear many hats, many roles. There's many expectations and responsibilities on you as a nurse. So
Hmm.
it's really got to be, for me, it was my calling. That's what has part of what drove me into nursing and what keeps me there. Um, if it was just money or something I thought I should do, I wouldn't be a nurse anymore. It really came for me from the heart. So I ask people, what drives you to be a nurse? What is motivating you at the core? And are you aware of all that is going to be upon you as a nurse? And are you ready
Yeah,
to
yeah,
endeavor?
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that right there is the reason that's always my first question. Because and people that I think that people often maybe when they started they thought about why, but then somewhere along the way they just you get on the treadmill and you forgot why you wanted to do this. And this is the reason I asked the first question, why? Because I need people to remember why they're doing this.
So important, such an important question. Why? And to remember that. And if you
Yeah,
can
remember.
connect to that, then you can, find that spark again and find
Yes.
joy and meaning in the work that you're doing.
Indeed you will. Indeed you will. Indeed you will. And so I see that you part of your master's, one of your was international nursing.
Yes.
Other than the US, where have you worked?
Yeah, so for me, I actually haven't worked in paid positions, but volunteering. So I have done some work in South Africa, working with street children. Really, my focus in life has one of the main populations I worked with is vulnerable children and youth, different places, spaces, foster care, juvenile justice, street children,
Mm-hmm.
um, uh, children who are working in the immigrant population. So this is really where I put a lot of my passion, disadvantaged communities,
Mm-hmm.
communities that I think are advantaged, in my opinion, in different ways. But a lot of people refer to them as disadvantaged. But I've
Yeah.
met in these groups of kids, I've met the most incredibly resilient human beings that I've ever even known that have inspired me. And so it's such an honor to work with kids like this. But yeah, South Africa is one that really stands out to me. Guatemala had an amazing experience towards the end of my nursing program. So, but for me, I moved more into the community health side. So my master's was in community health and international nursing.
Mm-hmm.
And we're always thinking worldwide, but I started realizing there's so much need close to home that I really don't have to go too far. And so I started doing more and more work in the communities surrounding me that needed support. Public health, community health, population health has really been my main specialty area in nursing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you have Heart Illuminations.
Yes,
I love the name, by the way.
thank you. Thank you so much. Yes.
So and you said that the goal is to connect with people to get them um to I guess basically to get them to connect with themselves.
Yes, yes, to find that light within. Yes, I've learned along my journey, my healing journey, work that I've done on myself, that connecting with the self-healing from within is essential. It's essential to make us the best that we can be. And it's
Yeah,
complete,
yeah, and it
that work has transformed me to be a better person and to be able to give the best of myself.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And not for nothing, but that is work.
Yes. Yes, it can be dark and
It's
lonely.
work.
The other side is beautiful. And so I love supporting people to go through that journey,
Yeah.
uh, to find that light within and that spark again and to live their best life. Mhm.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. That I can imagine that can be so gratifying. I
Yes,
have
it
one more
is.
question for you.
Yes.
So I was noticing that I could identify a nurse. In many instances, I could identify a nurse without ever being told that the person is a nurse. And I began to wonder, A, what was it about the person that made me know they were a nurse? And B, can everyone see that? Can other nurses see that in me, for example? And so I started asking the question, if you could articulate in one word, what is the most essential quality of a nurse for you that you see? What would that word be?
Compassion.
Compassion. That word comes up so many times. so many times. And I find it interesting that that word comes up,
Mhm.
um, because as we talked about earlier, sometimes we don't give that compassion, we don't extend that compassion to ourselves.
Right. We don't. There's not a lot of self-compassion. Yes. We
Hmm.
often are critical. Nurses are so hard on themselves. I remember I was so hard on myself if I didn't do something right, if I made
Hmm.
a mistake, if I didn't understand something. I was just constantly berating myself and just talking to myself
Hmm.
so critically. It's almost like we're supposed to be on this pedestal and it's just know everything and be able to do everything perfectly. And
Yeah,
it's just not reality. And so, yes, that self-compassion, we need to learn that. And if we're so good at giving it to others, it's so simple for many of us. And why not do the same for ourselves?
exactly, exactly. We're so good at giving it to others. Before you go, is there any gem you'd like to leave with us?
Any what? Gem?
Gem.
Gem. What would be a gem? I would say that if you are feeling like leaving nursing or questioning yourself and your abilities in nursing, really to dig deep and expand your thinking, your connections, and see really if that's it, or is it just where you're located, where you're working, the people you're with? Is there something maybe that you could create, innovate? What would be the ideal job for you? What would that look like? And really to see, how can I take steps, take some
Mhm.
control, make progress down that path and that journey. And so for me, one thing I did when I was in that space, I said, I put it out there. I said, I want to have joy in all areas of my life. And I gave myself permission to have joy, and that included work. And then ever since then, I started just naturally making connections, um, seeking out people that were doing things that I was interested in, other nurses that had these really amazing roles. And eventually I got to a place that is it's total joy. Everything I'm doing related to nursing is complete joy. And I love every part of it. And so it's out there, it's available. And so I would say, instead of just stopping or giving up and going with that burnout, to look a little deeper, seek out people that you can connect,
Oh,
that inspire you, that give you passion, remembering your why, like you said, and taking some steps to get to that place that will bring you total joy so you can be doing your best work that is most meaningful to you and is going to provide the most impact that the world really needs.
yeah. That is huge. Thank you so much for that. Thank
Yeah,
you so much for that. I'm glad you ended with that because that really is so very true. Um, A, the world really needs, and B, there is a niche. There is a niche for everywhere, every single nurse. There's a niche.
agreed. There's so much work to be done, and
Yeah,
there's so much we can do in so many ways.
yeah. And be happy doing it.
Yes. All you have to think about, what do I like doing? What do I most love? And I've asked myself that questions in many roles and figured out, how can I incorporate it here in what I'm doing here? How could I
Yeah,
add this and that? And then when you start connecting the dots, you're like, wow, this is so fun. This is so exciting. But I know there's so many limitations out there. There's so many barriers
yeah,
to doing our best work as nurses. It's not
yeah,
just as simple as that. And so I want to recognize that there's so many barriers, limitations, structures that don't allow us to do our best work.
yeah.
So we do have to dig deep, connect, reconnect with our why, and start figuring out, what is it that I can do? What steps can I take to get to where I want to be?
Yeah, yeah. And just to build on that a little bit, what I think that we will get there because nurses are pursuing higher and higher education, and people like you are including things like self-care and care in the curriculum, in the education of nursing. It's not something that 15 years afterwards you suddenly decide, oh my gosh, what do I do? Because it wasn't always included in nursing education. And so
Right?
as we include stuff like that, it makes it a little bit easier to
Yeah.
find your way.
Yes, absolutely. That's the hope. That's what we're hoping. In the day and age that we're in, we need it and we recognize how
Yeah.
amazing nurses are. And they're the glue to organizations. They're without nurses, can you imagine?
It doesn't function. It doesn't work.
So we need nurses. So we need to put energy and time and resources into nurses that are caring for themselves so they can
Indeed.
show up whole and do the kick-ass work that they do. If I can
Yes.
say that out loud, you
Yes.
really do great stuff, and I get excited about it. And I want us to continue doing that work. I really do.
Thank you so much for this really great conversation. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you. It was such a pleasure. Thank you so much, and for all that you're doing to bring the nurse voice to the table. We really need to elevate one another to speak our truth and to share our stories. So thank you.
Indeed, my pleasure. My pleasure.